So what's your favourite thing about this time of year? The leaves turning brown, pretending to be out when kids come round trick-or-treating, the annual debate about whether putting the clocks back is a waste of time. Well, new research out today says that sticking to British summertime in winter would be better for our health and could even be beneficial for the Scots, who've always feared that a change would leave them in the dark. Here's Adam Fleming with more.
If Halloween's coming, that means not far behind is the annual debate about whether it's worth putting the clocks back. At Thorpe Park in Surrey and other visitor attractions, they'd love that extra hour at the end of the day instead, which would mean keeping British summertime in winter and going to GMT+2 in the summer.
For the tourism industry, the main benefits are extra jobs. Now, during summer there's plenty of hours of daylight, but during the shoulder periods, as I say in Easter and this time of year, an extra hour on the end of the day will mean a lot more people can come into parks, enjoy it, stay for longer. That means more jobs and that means more money into our industry.
Is there a figure for how many jobs it could be?
We estimate between 60 and 80,000 jobs will be created.
All the horror stories about this come from Scotland, and hours extra daylight down south means it wouldn't actually get light till much later north of the border, which is why Scottish MPs always look a bit grumpy when you mention it.
When the nation experimented with shifting the pattern of changing the clocks back in the 70s, all the talk was about how much had to happen in the dark, from the morning commute to milking the cows to the paper round. Ever since, the debate has happened, well, as regular as clockwork, but now it's been boosted with a Make Poverty History style grassroots campaign, drawing on new evidence.
There are a huge number of benefits that come from having those lighter evenings, from saving 100 lives on the roads every year through to the cutting of 500,000 tonnes of carbon from the atmosphere every single year through the use of less dirty, polluting electric light. Right the way through, again, to creating an extra hour for outdoor sport after school and after work.
At Westminster, they're not just getting ready to wind back that famous clock. Next month, they'll be debating a backbench proposal to consider the benefits of various options for our clocks. But so-called private members' bills don't get far without government support, and this one will have to win over Scottish MPs who aren't necessarily convinced it's time for a change.
Adam Fleming reporting there. Well, we've been joined by the Conservative MP Rebecca Harris, who is the sponsor of a private member's bill which proposes a 3-year trial of double summertime. And from Glasgow by the Conservative member of the Scottish Parliament, John Scott. Welcome to you both. Rebecca, can I start with you? So why? Why do we need double summertime?
Well, we've already heard on that film some of the benefits.
Yes.
But the people who are backing this bill and trying to push it are so many organisations now. Obviously the tourism lobby are very keen because of its potential for creating jobs, and we certainly need to be looking at jobs now. But there's also potential benefits for participation in sport. At the end of the day, if you have an extra hour of daylight at the end of the day, when people can use it, when children and adults can make use of it to take part in outdoor activities, could be enormous, which is why a huge number, about 315 sporting organisations are backing this as an experiment. And there's huge quality of life benefits. Fear of crime could be reduced, and road deaths, we're very confident. Yes, so, and it all seems to me it's got to be worth looking at.
Is there any more support than there usually is for this sort of campaign?
It's really mounting enormously.
Right.
With Under the Lighter Later campaign, where people right across the British Isles are supporting this now, and including in Scotland.
Right, including in Scotland. Well, John Scott, we go to you there. What is the resistance? Is it really easy for you to argue now against what Rebecca is proposing, bearing in mind all the benefits that have been set out?
Yes, I believe it is perfectly easy to argue against it. Here in Scotland, we would be looking at in areas like Thurso or Aberdeen and Inverness through the winter, sunrise not happening until 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, my concerns are for children going to school in the dark. My concerns are for local authority workers, postmen, carers. We have a lot of carers getting elderly people up in the morning. And in Scotland, we have a completely different climate from the south of England. I quite understand Rebecca bringing forward this bill, which I think probably would benefit the south of England. You cut to Thorpe Park, but you didn't choose in your clip to come to Scotland, where the disbenefits, if you like, would be much more obvious.
Yes, I mean, thank you very much for setting that out. I mean, Rebecca, what about having, Scottish time? What about, leaving Scotland where it is in that sense? Because, although you argue for the health benefits down here, there are obviously safety disadvantages in Scotland.
Well, I don't think it would be to the benefit of anyone in Britain if we had 2 time zones. But actually, the evidence, and we've had a very detailed report has come out on this today, the evidence is actually this could actually proportionately benefit Scotland more than the rest of the UK, because Scotland is about 11% dependent on tourism, and so this is potentially worth about 300 million to the Scottish economy and about 7,000 jobs for Scotland. And the road safety experts, the Royal Society for Prevention of Accidents, BRAKE, they all say that this could save up to 20 or 30 lives on the Scottish roads each year, because it's even more important when you have short hours of daylight to make sure that the very dangerous evening rush hour has more light in it.
Well, I mean, Mr. Scott, purely on sort of the financial benefits in terms of jobs and job creation, isn't that enough to negate the negatives for you?
No.
Right.
Safety comes first. And I think the evidence of the 1968-69 trial showed that there was a marked increase in accidents in the morning amongst children. Now, if we're going back to that position, not only will you have children who would already be walking to school in the dark and along icy roads. I mean, we do have a different climate up here in Scotland from Surrey. Trust me, you would also be looking at more anxious parents taking more children to school by car as a result, and then you'd have more congestion, and it's just not a well-researched thought.
Mr. Scott,
yet.
I mean, Trevor Kavanagh, both MPs here, or MSP and MPs, sticking to their guns here very firmly on this issue. Do you think there's any chance of it changing?
Well, actually, I think that this time Rebecca may well be onto a winner. I think it's something, as you've said in the programme, that it's virtually an annual event, but this time there seems to be some momentum behind this. You've got Tim Yeo of the Environment Committee effectively giving his backing to it, and I think that the amount of discussion that we're hearing is quite serious, and I think that an awful lot of people south of the border would welcome it.
Kevin McGuire, you're also talking about cutting emissions as well, carbon emissions.
Oh, absolutely. I just take a utilitarian view of this, Benthamite, that the greatest happiness, the greatest number, the greatest safety, the greatest number. And it's quite right. Of course, Scotland's in a different position and its northern tip to the southern coast. That's quite obvious.
So is Norway.
But, yeah, you've got to do what's best for everybody. And I would rather have the light in the evening than a little bit in the morning.
OK, I'm going to thank Rebecca Harris, John Scott. Good luck with your campaign.